the playoffs are going to be fucking late this season.
All right. Welcome everyone to 5 of the week. This week we have yet another special guest. It is the Charlotte Aviators assistant to the general manager and the SBA board of directors. I don't know if you guys have specific roles. Nepto once
Not
more.
really.
Hello.
You could add X head grader to the description if you wanted to. How are you doing?
Maybe we can do some sort of trivia. Can you name all the jobs I've done on the SBA side?
That you have done. Oh,
Yes.
that's going to be interesting because I I don't know your jobs pre-simmer. So I know you've been a head coach for the Resistance. Yes, AD before that for I don't know what team exactly. I think Bayo mentioned it at some point in his whole memorial thing. You've been simmer for sure now, general manager. I don't know. Have you been an updater back in the day?
No.
All right,
So yeah,
then I don't know what jobs you had
I
besides that.
think that covers all of it in theory. I've also been a presenter, but just as a simmer, it sort of blankets over being NCA simmer and presenter as well, because simmers are expected to do those jobs from time to time at least. So yeah, it sort of blankets over them. Your roles in the past have been head coach, updater. I don't know if you've done any sim presentations. Maybe.
Nah,
Don't think so.
nah, I haven't done any. But in fear, there's still stuff missing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, league jobs aside, we also have a special guest who's still. I can't
Can't
talk
talk
just
yet.
yet. Not coming on yet. Once he gets on, we'll introduce him properly. So that's Nepto, and this is a coach stars for now. What we had planned was a lot of talk about the SBA finals and SBA playoffs review and upcoming or maybe even in progress free agency. But seeing as it's 2 past 10 in the evening on a Sunday night and the SBA semifinals are yet to start at the time of recording, uh, well, we're gonna go a little off script and the off-season podcast, so to speak, is not. Don't think there's gonna be an off-season podcast because next week it would go to next season's preview and free agency review, more or less. Well, I guess that's off-season stuff. Anyway, uh, in the SBA semifinals, we have the first-seeded Pittsburgh Ironmen against the fourth-seeded Miami. This is one of my new favorite words, calling it Miami. Maybe Miami Vice. Yes, the fourth-seeded Miami Vice, and then in the top half of the bracket, it's going to be the Houston Ravens against the Charlotte Aviators. A lot of very pleasant options here for you and for me, and maybe even for Plutarch with his history with the South Beach stuff. But there's still a very realistic chance that the finals are gonna end up being Houston against Miami. Oh, Miami. What do you think of the road for these teams so far? Obviously, all of these teams had a bye in the first round and have only played one round of playoff basketball so far. But what do you think of their performances in their first series?
I gotta be honest that I didn't watch all the games because, as you might know, and Oko definitely has the same problem. Let's say it like this: was that the playoff presentation started when I was going to bed, and I
Yeah.
woke up and caught like the last Vipers versus, what was it, Vice game, I
Yeah.
think. So I didn't have the time or motivation to go through 30 pages of games, but from the results, obviously, I looked a bit more into Charlotte. I think that series became closer than it needed to be for many different reasons. Still pulled it out in the end. Same for the Ironmen. I think they are a way better team than the Jokers this season. So I was surprised to see them go the full distance. On the flip side, I was surprised that Miami beat Atlanta this quickly.
Mm-hmm.
With the
I
Vipers
guess
going
this
down in
is
five, I expected a
hello.
closer, longer game.
Hey, hey, hey.
I guess I heard some slander about the Las Vegas Jokers, so I guess this is where I make my introduction.
Not sure if it was slander, but just based on the regular season results of 3 blowout victories for Pittsburgh, I guess the writing was already on the wall for the Jokers to get shut out quite easily. But obviously, I wasn't as foolish enough to believe all that since, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people would have lost a lot of money on Pittsburgh winning their series as the high seed over the
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
I know I was involved in a few of those upsets for the Pittsburgh, so I was happy to see it go to 7 games again.
Mm. Yeah, and I also, for anyone watching, that's I guess I already mentioned by name at one point there, but Plutarch is also joining us here for 5 of the week to make it 3 of 5 so far. Or wait, no, I think there was some fourth new guest. Anyway, it's a special guest, first time on the show. Yeah, yada yada yada. Yeah, I. It's very funny to me because I'm obviously the general manager of the Ironman, but I think there's a message there to one of my players earlier this week, and let's just find it and I'll read it out loud, and you guys get the idea pretty quickly. Wow, there's a lot of messages. Miracle how this piece of shit team ended up the first seed, was what I said. Yeah, if not saying the team is a piece of shit, but at least it rolls like a piece of shit or drives like a piece of shit, because 68 wins is a large number, and compared to the Jokers is measly 51, and I guess Vice also in the 50s, yeah, 57, and just the recent history of like close to 70 or 70 win teams, even having more regular season wins than the Houston Ravens, would suggest that the Ironmen are actually very good. But I think they are much closer to the Jokers level and much closer to the Vice in talent than the regular season results showed, and which is gonna make it, even this semifinal against the Vice, very interesting, as it did with the Joker series there.
Well, that's for sure. So you're headed up against the Vice, and I do believe that that team now has shown that Mr. Splashman is still. I guess is he still running the team in an assistant capacity, or
I
has
think for
Engine
the
fully taken over?
season still ongoing, he'll be the GM, but who knows if Engine is assisting him or if he's taking over already. But at least generally, it's done in this way, where until you're eliminated from the playoffs, you'll be running the team from.
I mean, well, because he's shown that he has the knowledge of the sim to go all the way and take on the championship. Now, if my memory is correct, Engine was involved with the previous Pittsburgh management.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was the group that failed to overcome the rail multiple times and regularly got knocked off, much to their chagrin. So my called shots, I guess, are more at them than yourself.
Yeah, but it's still the same name. It
Mhm.
reads Pittsburgh Ironman on the team sheet, so it's just a weight that someone's gonna have to carry, even if they leave the job and the next person replaces them. Someone has to carry it. If not
Well,
the user, then the
I guess,
virtual
like, that's the
fans.
big storyline, though. The big storyline for this series is the Engine overcoming the demons of his Pittsburgh past with all their playoff disappointments early in his tenure.
Mm, yeah, I think they made it to the finals that one time, but that's when they lost to the Rail, most recent
Mhm.
Yeah,
Rail championship, and that
Yes.
yeah,
is
that was when
basically. Hmm?
they had that regular season record, even I think, with like 76 wins.
Yeah, just then. So yeah, it's a pinnacle certainly for the success of the Ironman since they joined the SBA. Was it in season 40 or season 42, somewhere around there? Yeah, I think season 40. A pinnacle of their success is in this current era. And yeah, with all sorts of records and offensive player of the year awards and point guard of the year awards and small forward of the year awards, it's just that unless you actually win the championship, which, like I mentioned last week, I'm not at all like writing off as the finals berth as a cakewalk. I think, like I said just then, it's gonna be much more challenging and much more interesting indeed. And on the other side, it's two teams that we always discuss, seemingly because we are both associated with the Charlotte Aviators, and the Houston Ravens are like the biggest topic and the biggest team of the last 15 seasons or so. Um, how you don't need to. Well, I guess the games are simmed already, so you can say whatever you like about it, Nepto. But Um, how how do you think the Aviators are gonna fare in this 2-3 matchup for the finals, other final spot?
Talk pretty freely because I was not able to help Bobby at all. Timetables have just been brutal this weekend, so Bobby was on his own. So I really don't know what exactly to expect and what we are going to do. Uh, but I've said it last week. I think I've said it at the beginning of the season. The Ravens are the best team in the league, in my opinion, still, and are the team to beat this season. So we will see how Charlotte handles them. There's still a decent chance we make the finals, but it's going to be an uphill battle, and that's for sure. Especially who is going to stop Thompson? Is it Achille or is it Einar finding himself matched up with him, or may it be Robinson even? Who knows? Uh, yeah, it's going to be tough to stop him, and we will see if it works out and if the offense can find their ways through the Ravens defense, which has been tremendous this season.
I think that is certainly more important because even if even if Grant Thompson scored 65 points per game, that's only 65 points. You still need to double up on that to get to what's generally a winning number in the 130s. Might be that best bet is not to stop Grant Thompson and just keep it straight up instead of trying to, uh, like single out this one excellent player who's not been able to be singled out so far this season or even the last season. What do you think, Plutarch, of the Houston and Charlotte saga once more?
Yeah, so I was just going through it. In the 3 games they've played, 2 of them have been, like, within 3 points, and then there was one bigger win, uh, by the Ravens. It was 2-1 regular season. It's just interesting that if there's a team that could stop Thompson with both Achille and Hilmarsson down low, both defensive bigs, and then they'd be relying on their much more dangerous backcourt to outscore the Ravens. It's a very interesting combination of outside versus inside. And if Akili and Hilmerson can hold, it's actually a very fascinating matchup. Two completely differently built teams.
If you had to pick the finals matchup, which teams would you pick to go head to head? Like not favored, but who do you predict will come out then? We can go to Neto first if you're here. Very very quiet at least.
Is Nepto's mic gone again?
No, I already got my second headset plugged in and using the mic. Oko is already accustomed to my
every
headset
day the
being
same
out
thing.
every week.
Yeah.
I still don't know what's wrong with it. So what was the question again?
Which teams
No, I
do
lost
you
track.
predict to make the finals, and who's gonna win the finals now that you've seen them in playoff action?
Obviously, the Aviators are going all the way. No, jokes aside, I think it's more realistic to see the Ravens advancing with the home court advantage. And on the other side of the bracket, I see the Ironmen make it past it. No disrespect to Miami. They have yet again another great season and have done well so far in the playoffs. But I think they're the weakest of the four teams left. And I suspect the Ravens are going to win it all to reclaim their throne this time around.
Interesting. What about you then? Are you on a similar track, Plutarch?
For me, I'll always pick the team that has the better inside. So for me, the Ravens should come out on top there with Thompson. It's the most reliable offense. It's the most efficient offense is from your center and your power forward. So I have a hard time imagining them doing it, them losing, just because of that. Over a 7-game series, it's hard to pick the Aviators for me. But at the same time, that's what makes the Miami matchup with Pittsburgh so interesting, because it's like who is it? Who do you think has the better down low? Is it Vicarian Marcus, or is it
I
is it
think
Harrison?
there's a clear-cut answer, because Marcus is like a step beyond what Harris and Cannon are able to provide. So just based on the better inside, I would go with Marcus and Vicarian, but it's not so much, so large of a discrepancy as compared to like Akili versus Thompson, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I also would have. I think I'm just running through because it's sad that the index for me isn't updated. So I'm just trying to run
No,
over
it's not for anyone.
the
It's
details, and
yeah.
the SBAL has switched over to the
Regression,
season, so trying
yeah.
to get all this stuff is a little backwards for me. But yeah, I view that Miami with their inside over 7 games. That's what I'm picking. I think we'll see a Miami Houston final.
Yeah, I would also, if I'd had to make just a straight prediction, I would say both series go to 7, and it's Miami against Houston in the finals, with Houston winning it all in the finals. As much as it pains for me to say losing on both fronts, as a player and as a general manager, that's just what I see as the most realistic option. Although I tried to put our team in Pittsburgh in the best possible scenario, at least. So fingers crossed for that. I heard you had some, well, not interesting opinions, but still sort of opinions about the sbdl playoffs, which have concluded at the time of speaking. Did any of the draftees in the SBA draft really stand out in the playoffs, or was Quad City Asylum's championship run more of a ensemble job. Obviously, I think Rauta Perse won the playoffs MVP award, but they also did have Dusty Wilson and Zanetta Zamora on the team. So, how did it transpire to you, Neptune?
The good old tale of the Lightning losing in the finals
Yes.
is back for yet another edition. Yeah, it really hurt to see this game one in the finals unfold with like a 20-something point lead, I think, at halftime, and then just disintegrating in the fourth quarter and allowing the whole thing to go to overtime and then losing it. I think in the playoffs itself, Quad City showed that they are the best team in the league, and by a decent margin in the end. I think the on and off numbers for Rotaper speak for themselves. Even though he had a lot of foul trouble in the playoffs, especially in the finals, he still was just an efficient scorer all around. Beside that, even though he's inactive, Stark performed well for the Lightning throughout the playoffs, so props to him.
Yeah.
And otherwise, I don't have that much insight on the teams, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah, in the finals, Darren Stark, I think starting small forward, for the Fort Lauderdale Lightning in the first game, which you mentioned, went to overtime. I think Rauta Perse fouled out in this game and only played something like, let's see, well, I have it in 2 clicks.
Played 21 minutes.
21 minutes, yeah. In the game one, Stark had 42 points on 17 of 28 shooting, and also hefty rebounding and assist numbers 8 and 7 respectively, and in the second game of the finals even better, 48 points, albeit on 32 shooting, 18 of 32 shooting. So yeah, even for that inactivity, definitely a bright spot alongside Schmidt. Well, actually, this is the English Smith and Rubiato in the finals. But yeah, like you said, Asylum quite thoroughly proved why they are the best team. Did you catch any of the SBDL playoffs action, Plutarch?
Well, just looking at it now, they just steamrolled their way through. They swept every single round. The numbers they put up against the Honey Badgers were actually disgusting. Like what's that, like almost a 31 point average victory over
Yeah.
2 games. That's absolutely disgusting. It seems like since last time I looked at the SBDL, it seems just as top heavy as it was, with only really 2 or 3 teams in competition. What do we have here?
Yeah,
I
this
guess,
season we
yeah, it's
just
like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Over half the series in the playoffs were all sweeps.
yeah.
Like it's still the top. It's more top heavy than the SBA.
Yeah. But it's certainly much easier to for sweeps to happen in 3-game series. In the SBA, we've talked about this in the past, but in the SBA series, there's prone to one game happening where a star player maybe has 3 fouls in the first quarter and then sits out the entire second quarter on coach's orders, and then the game changes right then and there. But that's just only one game. And in 2 games, if something unlucky like that, or lucky depending on which side you are on, doesn't happen, then it can sometimes be just a straight 2-0, which may look boring, but then when you go and look at the results of games, there's still some excellent games. Like I remember the Huntington played at Thunder Bay, and they eliminated Thunder Bay in 2 games, but the second of the 2 games was a Herd comeback in the fourth quarter, where they, let's see here, 130 to 129 win by the Herd. So even though if the series score looks lopsided, it's because it just gets lopsided if you only have 3 games in where to compare to. But you are right. Less teams and the best teams still as populated with good to great players as ever. It looks wonky on the season
I have
standings.
to bring up, it's not relevant for the playoffs, but as someone who doesn't really follow the SBDL, what was this tragedy of a Hydras team that only could pick up 2 wins? Like does that? I honestly, as someone who was an AD back in the NCAA and was involved with Thunder Bay, I don't see how you could make a team that bad. Like who was in
Was
charge
by
of that?
Rather
design.
on purpose, yeah.
It was by design.
If
The
you
whole team was crafted to give their center the most touches in the game, and the center is a 7-4 freak center centered around 3-point shooting, which is fine, and you could still win more than 2 games with it, but they had a lot of like inactives with no TPE applied on their team, or fillers with barely TP applied. So if you go look at their team page, you would see a lot of 35s, and I think that speaks for itself.
yeah, this
And they managed to have him not win offensive player of the year award as well. So they
yeah.
couldn't even do what they were trying to do right.
Well, I guess what they were trying to do
That's just
on the team,
shockingly inept.
yeah, on the team side, it was just get most touches, and then it was up to the player to become efficient and become good. But on the team side, I would say mission accomplished. Like you couldn't design what you were going to do any better, but just that the player is sort of wonky and not. Yeah, but these sorts of teams are like close to being a banned topic on 5 of the week because it's uh, only serving 1 or 2 people, even when the teams are supposed to have at least 5 people plus or including the GM. This sort of stuff is only serving 1 or 2 people, and it's not too interesting. But yeah, the short of the story is it was by design to get most shots possible for the Sadesky, and what happened then.
I guess my take on that would be that whoever the head coach of that team is should not have their job because it's good that they just fail at recruiting anybody in the entire season. Like I don't know. I think they should probably just be removed for that.
Yeah,
It's a development league.
yeah,
That's a hard take with the current
amount of
recruiting numbers,
player.
if
Yeah,
I'm completely honest.
yeah, like it's
Is are there no recruits right now?
well less and less, I
There's an
guess.
okay number, but it's not like you would expect every team in a league to get a recruit in a season.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
okay. So
it's
it's really sparse right now.
yeah, it's more common that the championship teams have like filler starting, like it was maybe before the big influx of Reddit recruitment in the
Mm.
NCAA. It's much more closer to that. And while I do agree, like this was like a ridiculous season and totally made a laughing point of one team entirely, at least Goliath has proven that he can do his job when I guess he wants to or aims to, since the Hydra under his coaching have been very successful though in the past. So
Okay. I
yeah.
wasn't sure. I wasn't sure because I saw a Goliath name was on there now. I just wasn't sure if he was the
Oh yeah,
head
or
then.
he
So
took
he does.
over.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
has done
yeah,
stuff before. So this is just a couldn't get anybody in. I'll go with the gimmick.
yeah. At least that's how I'd put it, like mildly. Yeah, whatever. We'll just do this stupid stuff instead. Yeah. Don't you worry about it. We'll get back to the real program next season. And yeah, well, it is laughable and not at all interesting to me in the end.
Really, because that's the test you could also just do in a test file, but that's beside the point.
Maybe it's not fulfilling enough. All right, moving on. But uh, while the SBA playoffs have been ongoing, also the SBA season 59 entry draft has been in full force. We're up to Like, is it 17 players picked at this point? Yes, 17. Well, I've been involved in a lot of stuff so far. Have you read any of it? Have you kept up to date, Plutarch?
I am a almost completely inactive scrub in
Yeah.
terms of keeping up to the draft or whatnot. I
So you
did
can.
my 5 TPE a week, did my little thing, claimed welfare for the 2 TPE and did some sim attendances and checked out for playoffs.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna hop in and look at these, see who's recreating.
Good part of that is that you can rescind your welfare claim and claim this podcast participation as 6 TP instead. So while you read up on the season 59 draft, I can ask Nepta what he thought of all the business, a lot of business. With the first overall pick, what happened?
I mean, we both were involved in that business, to be honest. The whole Charlotte-Pittsburgh trade. Yeah, so I think basically it rounded out to a couple of high-value prospects, and didn't make such a stark difference to us if it was MG or Puck or Danger or Kerm getting to our team. We thought they would all be a great fit, and in the end, we kind of suspected that you had a favorite in there, Oko, that you wanted to make sure you could cash into. So I think it's a decent trade for both sides.
Uh,
I don't think Pittsburgh will be that bad that we will have great lottery picks in like season 61, depending on your free agent stuff. But the way the team looks right now, I don't expect you to be like a bottom team by far. And yeah, I think we're going to watch this play out.
Oh dear God, Oko, what did you do with this trade?
I think when I was suggested this trade, I completely felt like I was moving up 2 spots for free. Completely, with complete confidence, I thought I was moving up 2 spots for free, and I still do. There's no problem right now. So, thanks for doing business, I guess. Yeah, with the first overall selection, the Pittsburgh Ironmen via the Charlotte Aviators via the Montreal Monarchs draft Rauta Perse, reigning playoffs MVP from the SBDL and Quad City Asylum. Yeah, the trade was third overall selection in this draft. Next season's first round pick, protected 1 through 4. If protected, conveys as season 61 second round pick and season 61 first round pick. Yeah, that's the specifics, and I thought it was very cheap of a price. I didn't have to do sort of anything on my end, and at least it certified that I could, or solidified that I could pick the all 3 players at the top were excellent choices, but obviously with the real life relationship that I share with MG, being friends for as long as we have and having convinced him to join SBA at some point, it's much better this way rather than going with Kermskis or Pugso. So, muy bien. With the second overall pick, the Washington Wild selected Zaneta Zamora, Kermskis, but immediately traded him to the New York Rail for all the Rail had to give, which is the more, I think, more monumental of the trades that happened. Since now I discussed this with, I think, the New York GM, but what do you guys think? Let me just send
Well,
this
I
into
can.
the chat as well.
I have the trade open in front of me, and as I was on the rail with Kerms and Flex for a good 2 or 3 seasons, maybe longer. Uh, they have an incredibly close working relationship. Kermsky does a lot of extra um, simming for Flex and with Flex, so uh, yeah, I definitely see why he wants to bring him back in because he's vital to the success that the Rail have had.
Yeah,
Am I allowed to say that New York robbed Washington?
maybe. I
Because I
think
definitely feel like it. I definitely feel like it. So everyone knew, every GM knew that Flex wanted Kerm back. That's no secret. And Flex never made it a secret, I think.
no.
But what he has given up now, for sure, Cohen might hurt him for this season, and 2 first-round picks seems a lot. But on the flip side, you have given away a year 9 role player. Bernard is nothing more, especially not in his 9th season. Cohen, I don't know if he's going to continue even this season, or maybe one more season and then hitting free agency, whatever. And yeah, basically for his own recreate, he can still retain his own guy or his own girl in this case, and add Kerm's player on top of it, and it just sets them up for the future. And possibly risking a big kind of selection, which I don't foresee in season 60 and season 61, is more than worth that for New York. And for Washington, Cohen and Bernard are not going to move the needle for you, and I don't expect the New York picks to be this bad that they will get like a top tier talent like they could have gotten here at the second pick. So I don't
I
like this
think
trade for Washington.
you might be wrong on that note because I mean the Rail are just gonna have like going into next season they're gonna have nobody even at 800 DB
Yeah, I think
unless they
they
got
might as
some
well
mad
be good
signings.
picks.
Yeah, they'll be good picks, but Kermsky just brings so much value to Flex that like they don't need to add with those 2 picks to this core if they can bring in a free agent for 2.
Or even if not, how I put it to Flex was that if you are 99% confident that Kerms will be there and updating by his year 6, 7, and 8, there's almost nothing that isn't worth it. Even if the New York picks both are first overall. I think you can live with that quite easily if you are as confident that you'll have another star player and who just produced you 2 championships and a finals MVP, or well, I guess mm, only 1 championship and 1 finals MVP. But if you are confident, I don't think there's a price high enough. I think everything you could quite confidently give up everything you have to move to get there, and in 5 seasons, 6 seasons time, everything's turned around again because no, Avi Cohen will not be playing, Raymond Bernard won't be playing, and you'll already have had your new cycle of draft picks and 5 or 6 free agencies behind you. Like this is a even if the New York picks are first overall both seasons, this is still a very good trade if you are that confident that you'll have a good time and Kerms will have a good player and be there and updating through his entire career. I don't.
Be, being fair though, this is still a good trade for Washington. Like I think those
Yeah,
picks
I
are going to be
think.
good.
Yeah.
It's the kind of trades that typically go to Houston and Brooklyn, where they get like multiple assets that a GM doesn't think he needs. But then one of those teams will be able to use those assets and build and then sell and get more value from those picks than Kerms or Rail necessarily got. So I think Washington's going to benefit a lot from it. But I mean, it's all about those first 2 picks because I mean Uzi could be inactive tomorrow. Like, like
Yeah, the players are just a throw in, I think. The picks are where the value might be, and even if they are of high value, I don't think New York will blink twice if they're asked, would you do the trade again? No, I don't think they'd be. Well, I think they would do the trade 100 times out of 100 anyway, even if they were high picks. What do you think of that angle, Nepto?
Yeah, I see what you're pointing at, but I just peeked at the upcoming draft list. Obviously, it's only a week after rollover right now, but it's not looking like a deep draft class at all. So if you don't land first overall, second overall with this pick in season 60, it's not worth it. Maybe season 61 can help you, but for the Washington Wild, their long-term plan just continues to look bleak to me. I don't know who they are building around right now. Are they building around Sky Terry? Because Terry has voiced his opinion on multiple times that whenever the team gets good and his touches diminish for the better of wins, he will be gone. Yes, that's so multiple times. So what's the plan right here? And this was your chance to pick one of the best talents available, lots of high-end talent from even outside of the top four I mentioned earlier. There's still lots of great talent that you don't seem to have beside maybe Maximov in the next draft class. So I don't know. It's not bringing Washington further to the goal of being a playoff team again, in my
I
point of
think
view.
an outside idea here is that you pick in the next 1 or 2 drafts, whenever it may be, if so happens, Emidas recreate. I don't think Emidas has played in Washington or for all the time Washington has been in the league, even though it's I think it used to be, at least when it was introduced, easily his favorite SBA franchise, just because it's DC. But I'm not sure on where he stands at right now. But anyways, that could be like maybe the next good Washington team has none of the players that are now on Washington. Maybe it's I usually don't trust these, but maybe it's actually like a more of a 10-season plan than a 3-season plan right now.
Yeah, I think
I get
he's
what
got
you're getting at.
he's got 2 firsts next year and 2 firsts the draft after that. He has his own picks. The team's going to be awful. Washington's pick will probably be the first overall both years.
Yeah, at
To be
least
honest.
in lottery,
Yeah,
pre-lottery,
yeah, yeah.
they're gonna have high chances of or good chances of a high pick. Anyways, with the third overall pick, the Charlotte Aviators who move down select then Steve Latimer. You're gonna be coaching Steve Latimer, Nepto, and I'm gonna be playing with Steve Latimer. What do you think of Latimer more specifically? I know you said you guys thought of all three of them at the sort of on the same level, but more specifically Latimer, what stands out with him?
I mean, it's a four-man group. I think Danger was in there as well,
Yeah,
even though he has like a lower starting point than the other ones because he didn't play in the SBDL. He went straight to the draft. But it boiled down to me a bit to who is the better flexibility fit, who has the better short-term role for Charlotte. As we continue to march on onto under Robinson's lead towards hopefully more championships, and who has the higher ceiling in the long term. I think MG's player had the best ceiling long term, a 6'2" power forward center with a great scoring game
7-2.
and also good caps for the defensive side is going to be a menace in his prime years and has the highest ceiling in the draft, in my opinion. Kerm, obviously, very flexible player, very good updater, and could have been maybe flipped for Flex Recreate. Um, I think that was the other deal that Flex threw out there if someone didn't buy it on his other sell. And the other one with Latimer is he has a pretty good supportive or defensive build, let's call it like that, or can be made into a good defensive player early on at a big spot, and that's what Charlotte needs. And will probably be playing for the next season as Robinson stays at small forward with the selection.
With the fourth overall selection, the Seattle Knights traded for the pick with Mace Andrews and a couple of firsts. They selected the perpetrator of the season 58 Portsmouth Hydra, Alexei Desadeski. This was quite in line where we talked about the other week with Desadeski, where even if you had questions about his player build and ability to provide a value in the first, say, 4 or 5 seasons, there's always a team that's in this position specifically where they don't have anything, any talent, like at all whatsoever. So they can, I'm not gonna say replicate what the Hydra did in the SBDL, because hopefully that doesn't happen at all. But they at least don't have to worry about Desadesky contributing to winning very quickly. And I think Seattle is a good landing spot for this specific player. Yeah, do you have any thoughts on this, Plutarch? I think, well, not exactly. I was gonna say you just recently also had a player like this, a big man scorer, but I think this is sort of a caricature of what the players of that time of Ephodos Pararexis were able to do.
Yeah, well, my scoring big man was a more of a Clegane
Yeah,
model. And the guys that are like, I found it really funny that Jeremy Baramy quote like cited my player as like inspiration for his player, and I'm like, but your guy's like nothing like him.
yeah,
Like
but putting up the numbers
as a
though.
putting up numbers, but I did in a completely different way. Like
Yeah,
I was all my players have always been completely about efficiency. So like the idea of having a 3-point shot big man just blows my mind. Like I just don't think that's like you'll win if you have enough TPE, but it's not, because I've never been a high TPE earner. I've been always had to go like full efficiency. So I've always just done inside scoring. But
and free
yeah, so
throws. Yeah,
it's I'm just looking at generally just looking at the draft, not anything in particular, but just based on what you're saying about recruiting right now, this is probably going to be one of the best drafts we see for a long time. There's a lot of
yeah,
really strong recreates, like really deep in the draft. Like there's a lot of big names.
yeah. With the fifth overall pick, the Mexico City is, well, actually, I think I was gonna say Mexico City, but that would be Ciudad, I think. Anyway, the Ocelots select Dusty Wilson out of Quad City Asylum as well, I think. Just talked about him. Yeah, the first gen player to be selected in this entry draft, which is very good. No complaints there. Dusty Wilson looks like Marcin Gortat on his SBAO profile, which is bad because Marcin Gortat is a criminal. Not, I don't think he's a real life criminal, but he just played like a criminal when he played for the Clippers and wherever else he played, maybe Brooklyn. Yeah, but yeah, happy for Dusty Wilson. He also looks like this sort of a general big man type of player with inside scoring, rebounding, blocking, and with a view for even more inside scoring, which I applaud, of course. Keeping things simple is sometimes the way to go, as we all know. With maybe the Sadeskis of the world might have their own cool moments, but in the general scheme of things, maybe
I'm a little confused about the name choice. Sandusky isn't a name that evokes positive connotations in the world of sports, but that was the Penn State um, sexual predator coach, wasn't it, Sandusky? Or am I getting the name wrong?
I think yeah, I think they had a name. Yeah,
Sandusky.
Sandusky. Yeah, but this is.
Okay.
I think this is based on the movie character in Doctor Strangelove. There's
Oh, that's what it is. Okay,
Alexei
because I just saw
Desadesky.
Sandusky and I was like, oh no, this isn't good. I was
Yeah,
like, oh, how did this slip by?
yeah. I think. Yeah, but it is close though. I didn't think of it. Obviously, I'm not being from over here. I'm not too knowledgeable about any large scandals or problems in
Mm-hmm.
North American sports before like 2015. But Yeah, indeed. That guy was called Sandusky. What a piece of shit.
Yeah, one
This guy,
letter.
yeah, this guy is called Desadesky, also probably a piece of shit, but not to that degree. Yeah.
I have to say, I'm surprised that he went um, fifth with the quality of recreates. Because it's not like he was. Because sometimes you see like a first gen who just out earns
Yeah, like I
everybody.
did.
Yeah, and it's like that's not the case. He's far down the TPE list. I'm surprised that he got drafted as high as he did. Was it just purely a positional need?
I think the people down next. Also, I think Mohol kind of likes having first gen people on his teams, just to have some like roots into the reality of everyday SBA. I'm not sure if that's why, but at least when
That
he was
yeah,
the
that's
Oklahoma
probably what it
State,
is.
when he was the Oklahoma State athletic director, he also had something like that going on, which is refreshing compared to just uh, having people who maybe don't chat. Even if you have your friends on the team who you chat in other aspects and concerning other topics rather than how the team is doing. So yeah, I think it's a very good pick. It fits the bill pretty much. And the other side of the coin is that the next people or the next player picked to the Houston Ravens is Danger Golding. I'm not sure if anyone specifically likes Danger Golding. Even I, as his, well, I'd consider him like an internet friend. Uh, if you listen to this podcast when he's not on, you'd get the impression that I do not like him. So yeah, maybe the head of media, Danger Golding, is not as popular as he once was. Uh,
All I can say is that that name should disqualify him from being drafted.
Malphite Doom.
Just no. I hate the ridiculous names. I hate it so much. It bothers me to no end. Like the all caps Doom. Like just go away. Just retire already.
Is it
I
all
want
caps
nothing.
Doom on
I want. I, I
SBAL?
want. I wish him nothing but failure in his career, just because of his name. Nothing to do with the person.
Is it is it all caps Doom on SBAL as well?
That's what it has here in the draft.
Oh
As
yeah,
a
it
note of it.
is. Doom, DOOM, all caps on SBAL. That's nice. I remember you started giving me shit when my player had like a three-part name as well, and I couldn't understand why. Like,
I, I I just hate it, and I had a whole conversation with Stevo about it, and then 5 minutes later he created a round mound of rebound to
yeah,
piss me
but
off.
at least that was a filler, not a real player.
Yes, the fillers.
Yeah, so that's another trade. Actually, precedes that selection there. What do you think, Nepto, about Scott Henry, Ollie Carter moving to the Pittsburgh Ironmen for the sixth overall pick?
I mean, you've assembled your draft capital throughout the last 2 seasons. Even I think trading away your pick last season and having it now available. Uh, I think it's a good trade for both sides. Houston obviously needed to shed some cap to fit their team for the upcoming season. And Shock was the first casualty. We will see if more will follow. And for Pittsburgh, it gives them a player on a decent level already to supplement Frost and yeah, the otherwise quite young or on the low team. Um, yeah, we will see if it is a difference maker that gets you to the playoffs yet. I think you still need a free agent in Pittsburgh, but I think it's a good trade for both teams. And now Danger can play out his career in Houston and and brag about his rings without it being, oh,
Yeah.
you just went there when they were dominating.
Were you surprised that the price or the casualty was Carter and not Wright, for example?
I was surprised, if I'm honest. But I would guess you wouldn't sell a first round pick with this many players still on the board that are good for a year 9 Alex Wright.
No, I
So
wouldn't, but for their cap shedding purposes. Uh,
yeah, of course that's the more obvious choice, but it's a move in line of town. I would have thought maybe King
In line
would
with
be
the
going
Houston Ravens
before
franchise, yeah.
would be going before Shockwood, but
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't see him move Grant Thompson or Brooklyn Muad'Dib anytime soon. So
Well, I can say that I'm interested by this Houston move because they've traded away a point guard. And I do believe that there may have been some conversation involving a trade of a certain uber regress point guard to Houston. I have no idea where that stands, but I might end up there.
2.5
and
million down. Let's see, 1.5 million. That would have to have another trade or like another player going out as well, if Salaminos were to end up in Houston. So maybe it was before
Yeah,
this, or maybe
yeah,
it's
I
still to
wonder
come.
what the plan is there, but it was mentioned because I'm surprised. Despite regressing into literal dirt, I'm too much of a cat hit for somebody. I'm surprised.
Yeah, although drafting a point guard, like I don't think Houston wants to have a rookie point guard as their starting point guard because that's just not a like a formula for winning a championship or contending for the finals. But
Mhm.
Salaminos, I don't agree with all of your attribute choices in your prime, but now in regression, it's just like a regressed type of player, which is could be good still. And I think your salary is 2 million. So maybe it would be Alex Wright going out if there's still something to be happening, but
Hmm.
I'm not sure yet. Looks
I figured
interesting
I'd be
though.
a sixth man wherever I end up next season. Just freak point guard, passer, end up as a sixth man. That's what I figured for
Yeah.
myself. But who knows?
yeah, okay, I actually disagree with you that a point guard cannot be a rookie on that level for a championship team. I mean, just look at the Vice. Their
Eh,
point guard is not good this season.
eh,
Definitely not good. It's two inactives, I think, sharing the spot at
yeah.
500 silver
Damian
TP.
Lazarov and what's his name?
And if you build them correctly, they can definitely play with like danger at point guard as a
Polychronidis.
rookie with 500 something TPE for his first season, and then just roll them throughout with the front court, and I don't know what else they will have.
Yeah.
I still see that as a pretty good team, especially in the cap situation we are in.
I think uh I think though even so your point sort of rings true. I think Miami are like we talked about earlier of the four final teams, definitely the worst maybe on paper. Might just be that Alexander Marcus shits totally on Pittsburgh in today's playoff series, but could as well be like Cassandra Frost does this and that, and guys like Polychronidis and Demian Lazarov are sort of just passengers instead. But yeah, I'm not. I don't think there's been quite so many examples of a rookie point guard playing good minutes on a championship level team, though. At least before this, if you were to
We have
believe.
seen rookies start for championship teams. I think Monroe McMahon was a rookie
Yeah, totally
when he
different though.
won his first championship.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
obviously
think
the
you
build was
count
made for it.
Mulhole. That doesn't. That's like
Yeah,
that is
I
the.
think you still can. Just because Mo has a lot of knowledge with the sim doesn't mean others don't have that knowledge.
No,
I can
but he
still
also will have more TP as a rookie than all but like
not really
unless it's a
true.
Brentstall or something.
well,
Like there's only three guys that'll have as much TP as a
then
rookie
it
than Mulhole.
was true. Maybe not now, but then it was true though, because in I think in the off season of after his first season in Brooklyn, I think the Monroe McMahon build was basically uh, complete already. Even then, afterwards, by suggestions and begging by general managers, etc., maybe there was added offensive rebounding to get it to 99s or 95, and then the 3-point shot later. But I think generally the build was already completed at like 600 TP. So, and we all saw afterwards what you can do with a player like that. So I think it's different to compare, like if someone like Talib Akili comes out of the draft and by the time I have 600 TP, it's still kind of shitty. But by the time Monroe McMahon had 600, 650 TP, it was already the best defender in the SBA. So it's sort of difficult to say
would
that.
disagree that early McMahon was a purely stocks-oriented player. He wasn't the best defensive player, in my opinion, yet.
Yeah,
That
but
still
you can't
belonged to
tell.
Hucklewood. But you could obviously tell where he was going to be. But I think you can still achieve, or even more so, achieve it in the current environment with less TP on the prime guys and still a fairly good chance to be at a good TPE level as a rookie. And if you just organize your build accordingly, you can easily be a starter on a championship team right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it depends. If you just have to draft one of a handful of people, one has to be a recreate who knows exactly what they're doing and building that specific. So you just have to be really lucky that someone actually exists in that draft class.
Yeah, or at least you have to have a good trusting relationship with anyone you draft. That they need to like fit into your goals, and they might need to be like ready to roll out the build to be successful early, rather than if they're trying to do something different, like I need to get triple doubles from my second season onwards, like type of stuff. That maybe doesn't contribute to winning as much as building out from the defense up would. But yeah, for Danger Golding's player, I don't think that will be a problem if he plans to be a defensively minded player, anyways. So with good
Just on that
playmaking
triple
skills.
double note, are you indirectly saying that Steve-O's player is the reason why Brooklyn never reached greatness?
No,
Is
I
that what
think
you're saying?
I think for the last 3 seasons of Wallace's prime, it was most often all the other players who were the problem. Like Wallace
Okay,
was.
so for the first half decade of his career, it was Steve-O's fault. I just want to make sure that's your
Well, yeah,
thought.
certainly it is in like some terms. Like I was actually surprised later on that Dimitrios Marquis Xavier was one of the best players in the league, because first off, I thought he was just gonna be a gimmick player again, but in that TP environment and eventually playing small forward, I thought he was a fantastic player. But coming out first in playing a lot in Brooklyn and just being like a guy who gets Loki here, 12 rebound, 11 assist. Not so interesting. But yeah, in the end, turned out to be great. And for the past like seasons 55, 56, and 57, I thought Wallace was excellent. Much like, not exactly, but much like I thought Mason Washburn was excellent, because he fulfilled the job criteria fully. He was the point guard and not a scoring guard. But yeah, it just, depending on which team you end up on and what your general manager does, it only gets you so far. Or maybe it's just a pipe dream of, I'm thinking of it too idealistically, that if you have a player like this, everything rolls smoothly. But what's actually true is that you have a player like Alex Calderon where everything runs smoothly and he can have 5 of 8 3-point shooting nights with 36 points to go with those 12 rebounds and 11 assists. So it's difficult to tell. But no, not for Wallace. I don't think he was the reason more lately. Let's just roll through the rest of the players here. With the 7th pick in the SBA draft, Rush selected Raven Ashton Hoya, who I actually had going above both Wilson and Sadesky. But alas, he is going to Los Angeles. Then a couple of GM players were drafted. Marcus Vinson to St. Louis, Mikey Sano to Philadelphia, Draco Corleone to Las Vegas, and then again with the Los Angeles Rush on the clock, they selected Hiram Canterbury 5. yeah, just sort of like solid standard type of players who kind of fit this non-existent timeline that the Los Angeles Rush are now stepping onto. And yeah, I think there'll be quite more lottery players coming in the next few drafts. And yeah, then the St. Louis Battalion were up again and the 12th pick, selecting Vincenzo Rubiato, famous for joining the SPA and being the most earnest and interested user in a while. And after 4 or 5 days, having his girlfriend slash wife find out about this new sim league he was joining and made him retire because he was giving it too much time and too much interest. But now back strong. I think this is at least the same guy, Enzo. Yeah, and with the 14th pick, the Brooklyn Bullets got very lucky here with a good earning player, Shabazz Serrano, Kevin Durant's doctor or KDD, falling to 14th. Good pick for the Bullets, certainly. I would have picked Serrano here or 12th or 11th or maybe even 7th. No, I don't think I had him 7th. I think I had Kid Chai and Angel Golding above him. Anyways. And then we are currently at Omar Bl. Or is it by? Don't know.
I don't know.
Omar Bl. Selected 17 to the Las Vegas Jokers, which is where we stand right now. Let's keep an eye out for the rest of the draft and come back to it on next week's program. But yeah, then we just have a couple of quick topics here. You've been associated with the Miami Vice in the past, Plutarch. Now they've gone through a general manager change, the longest tenure general manager has stepped down after these playoffs. Mr. Splashman is making way for Engine 4. What do you think of Mr. Splashman's legacy? Obviously, a couple of championships and maybe another one to come, although don't quote me on that. And yeah, Engine very popular and very knowledgeable and very hardworking towards his teams in the SPA. What do you think of this change?
Yeah, well, I think that well, first off, I guess because Jay Lyso here passed the GM job to Splashman after I believe the head office horrifically denied the idea of me taking over the team.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I didn't get it because I would never have been able to do what Splashman has done there. He really raised himself into that top 4 tier of GMs, which currently I would say would be well, the Houston, the Brooklyn, and then wherever Evans is, and then I guess it'd be top 5 because then it'd be him and Flex. That's kind of what I would say was the group that managed to find success. So I think he firmly placed himself as like the top 5 GM during his time. So I think he did a really great job, and he was loyal to his guys. He pushed for them to have championships. Like he wasn't super cutthroat about it, but he still found success, which is impressive. He did a great job.
What do you think about this change and Mr. Splashman's legacy then, Neptune?
I think MSM was a great GM. Obviously, had like this 2 cores of Miami Vice players. The first one with guys like Hiro, Renomitsu, and Battle, and I don't know who else was on that team anymore, but it was a group of like not the superstar award-winning players, but a great bunch that played some good basketball together. And now obviously the second one with the 2 championships, and yeah, just a good way to go out, I guess. I'm honestly surprised that Engine is back, kind of. I mean, it's undisputable that Engine has a great FPP knowledge. He showed it in the sbdl with the Chakals, and many credit him still as being one of the main minds behind the Ironman's rise in the last couple of seasons before you took over in the end, Oko. So I'm interested to see what he will do with a clean slate more or less after the season. I don't think Miami has many players left
Do you
in their
think?
roster.
Do you think Engine retired his player because he knew he was getting this general manager job and wanted to do a player for himself instead?
I wouldn't put it out of.
Yeah, I'd say that's
But would he
100% true.
be
But
able to?
GMs are completely untethered now, right?
Yeah, since he wouldn't be able to though. Difficult.
Is he going into? So would he be going into this next year's draft?
He retired his player in this draft, and I don't know if he can do straight to the draft anyways. So I guess he could now create a straight to 199 and be in the next draft, but with full untethering, it's not so easy, I don't think.
Well, I mean, realistically, he's going to trade Vakarian or whatever, and then they're going to be in they're going to have nobody left on the team, so he's going to be in competition for the first overall pick with Washington, so he might be able to get himself pretty easily.
Yeah, and I think I wouldn't. I respect other GMs too much to do this, but I guess he could just if he doesn't get the first overall pick and can't trade for the first overall pick, he can just forever keep retiring his player and try again. I wouldn't put it past anyone to do that, but I was just talking about this the other day where I would just rather quit being a general manager and become just a player again instead, if that sort of stuff were to happen. But yeah, that's a possibility, definitely.
Yeah, I hate this over competitive GMs. I know when the whole change was announced with certain people going like, I would never build a good player because I would have to play against him if he isn't on my team and yada 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 yada. So my point on this whole thing is if you can't enjoy this league as a player anymore because you're this hyper competitive as a GM, as something you do as a hobby, then you should just stop being a player. So
yeah, and
there's no point in it. It's just then like a soulless puppet that you are going to use for your GM plans, and that's not what it should be.
Yeah, well, more or less that's what it has been for a big while now. If there was tethering.
Oh well, I know back in the old school SBA, you could really track who won championships based on who had the best GM player.
Yeah, and
It
now it's
was
the
really
opposite.
the case. Yeah. So I understand the whole untethering thing, but I also understand why. Like people don't want to have a player that's outside of their team. I get that, but then you just have to trade for them.
Yeah.
Like just trade for your guy. If you think you can make a really good guy, then pay for it.
But no one's obligated to reciprocate, anyways.
No, no, yeah.
That's where the like gray area begins. Like
yeah, if
you
you're
can't
blackmailing the other GM,
yeah,
like trade me or I won't update.
yeah, and if they're
Then you're just
blackmailing
being a
you,
dick.
whereas no way I'm gonna give up my best player or best prospect to you just so you can have it because it's you. Let's just play it like we used to in the olden days. But no, I don't think. I think there's gonna be quite a few problems coming on that front soon enough.
Yeah, it could be. But if someone really tries to do like the whole trade me to myself for peanuts, or I will seek for a GM that will do after 1 week of the regular season, you couldn't find me in traps and docs DMs fast enough.
Oh yeah, no,
to
the
blast his
head
ass.
office will shut that down really quick.
Because you will get either fired or fined or whatever for that.
But you can do that quietly too, though. It's not like you can't scheme it up.
Sure.
So I
It'll
think
be apparent.
There will be discussions, but to be fair, there's always been discussions in the past when they were like traded to other teams, or you had your GM player or your player as a GM already in the league, like Achilles is now for you, Oko. you didn't draft him with Pittsburgh because you were the GM at that point. And yeah, so
Yeah,
there's
and
always been this problem. It will continue to be there.
I also know the price will be too high that I wasn't ever going to like even propose trades, and going to free agency is no better because now we've been to two or like basically 7 semifinals in a row in Charlotte, so I just don't see the point. But generally, my idea, I don't know
Wait,
if I
one sec. Are GMs allowed to sign their own player in free agency? I
no
didn't think that was
No.
actually allowed. Yeah.
no
hmm
that's like the entire point of going around
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I
untethering.
thought.
Yeah, like I wish I could have gotten any use of it because as a GM, I always know myself and I know what I can do and will do with my build. And I know I can count on myself not to go inactive, or if I happen to go inactive, then I wouldn't even care if. Like, as a GM, I know my own player is the strongest resource I can have at any point because it's my player and I'm gonna make it as good as I can and know. And it's never gonna leave me in any way because I control his contract destiny. So I'm sort of sad that I don't ever get to do that on the GMing front unless something very weird happens by the time I create my next player. But alas, it'll just have to do. But yeah, in general, GM players have just been a weird sort of commodity in the past 10 seasons where they just make a player that's not really good, but then ends up being excellent in their year 7, year 8, and year 9 because they can play 5 positions and have all attributes to 85 plus. So it's just weird. Anyways, we can wrap this up by talking about your player career. We sort of touched on it. It's, I guess, about to wrap up sooner rather than later with Salaminos. What was the key points, well, excluding going inactive for a bit, what were the key points so far in your career with Salaminos?
Oh, well, I guess I wanted to make a point guard because I'd made every other position basically. I guess I kind of had a small forward, not a dedicated one, but I've had multiple players play at small forward. So I've played every position other than like an actual point guard with my players. So I was just kind of filling it the last thing to do. And I always make gimmick players. So I was making a just full pass only, like whatever, see what I can do. Um, and yeah, I got like the 3 league leading assists, cheesed Steve-O out of a league leading rebound once, which I fully enjoyed because I love overshadowing all of Steve-O's players because it's hilarious. Um, but yeah, I never really took this guy fully seriously. Um, the way I did with Ephidos. It was kind of like I take one player seriously, then a joke, and then take a player seriously, then a joke. That's been my trend.
Yeah,
I
weirdly
guess I just
enough, yeah.
wanted Yeah, I wanted to play in a lot of playoff games. That was the main objective with this guy.
Yeah,
And I've done that. So I had the win with the Rail and runs with Philly and runs with Miami, or one run with Miami, and made it to the second round here. So it's been fun. I just wanted to play in playoff games
yeah,
because
it's
Parahexis missed out on so much of that with Montreal.
mm,
So it was yeah, that was really it. But I am not going to retire Salaminos because I'm probably not recreating. So I'm literally going to run this guy into a filler. Like he is going to be a nothing. He will
yeah,
play until he has like 5 GP.
yeah,
If someone
but
will sign him, he
David
will
Smith.
play.
I sort of meant by wrapping up that maybe you'll be a less impactful player from now on.
Oh yeah, no, I will be a 6th and then a 7th and maybe an 8th man.
Yeah,
We'll see, but I'm just gonna keep going and see how long I can grind out being useless. Hopefully on playoff teams as
yeah.
like a bench player. That's my goal.
It says here that you have so far played in 99. Well, actually, Not sure if this is counting this season's games.
I don't think it is,
G6.
and I'm checking out some of those. Like, I don't think I'll be able to get any career playoff records,
Yeah,
but
they're pretty difficult to come by.
but there's a few that I'm like, if I cheese it out well enough, I might be able to get oddly high in that list for a player that was not very good.
Mm.
I do have the career high in uh, single game assists or something. The most assists in a single game. I'm tied for that,
Yeah,
which is
27,
funny.
28.
Something ridiculous
Yeah,
like that.
28
Yeah.
it says, yeah.
So that's the highlight, I think, is that one there when I randomly cheese that out and then winning the championship with the Real.
Yeah, it says that you've played 99 playoff games so far. And for comparison, Alex Calderon played 106. And he generally be thought as a very successful playoff player in the
Yeah.
past. And
How
but
about playing like 100 playoff games without? That's the other thing. None of my players have ever played for Houston or Brooklyn.
yeah, I think now though with the added round of playoffs, there's room for more playoff games than there
Yeah, it's
used to
true.
be. But it's still like it's over a season's
It's
worth.
difficult if you play in the first round.
Yeah, you're not likely to
You're
go
not
far
that
though.
likely to go to
Yeah.
the finals. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
there's still some players like Rashid Ryder who has played in 129 playoff games, and I bet there's
How many did Doc play in?
Hmm?
How many playoff games did Doc play in the end?
Well,
Which player?
The first Sifa Dokbe from Baylor.
Ah, yeah,
Like
probably
lived
the
12
most.
seasons in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
yeah, probably the most. Let's see. I
I should know this because I wrote his Hall of Fame introduction. So.
well, it's not. Maybe I didn't check. Dodge Bay.
oh,
166. Yeah,
oh
that's
yeah, he's
definitely a
insane.
record.
He's
Yeah.
got 500 more minutes played than any player in playoff history.
Yeah, that's a lot. And
It's
Dojpe
ridiculous.
was good in like his 11th year in Atlanta, which was crazy. Like
Yeah.
amazing player again. Ja Walker Santos only a measly 141 games played in the playoffs. Yeah, I think on 2 players total, I have 141 games in the playoffs or something like that.
So
I have less, definitely.
I found a spicy record. So this can go on Mulholt's Wall of Fame here. Magnum McCoy has the most career turnovers in playoff history, and he has almost 50 more than anybody else.
Crazy. I thought.
That's insane. I didn't even think he was like a turnover machine.
Yeah, I
Like,
think
it's DMX next, right? Like, that
yeah,
makes perfect sense.
He just played a lot of minutes.
yeah, and I
And
think
he
in the
was
later
driving
years, he had like 99 passing, but maybe only 85 or 80 handling. So there's a lot
Yeah.
of playmaking with a lot of tendency to turn it over. But yeah, just on my first 2 players, I played in 128 playoff games total. And yeah, some guys do it in their sleep, I guess.
Well, if you play for like one of those dynasty Houston or Brooklyn teams, like that's what it is.
Well, I played
Like
for
those
Houston.
are the.
But I only played for Houston. Well, like half of my
1
playoff
season.
games. No, 3 seasons. Half of my playoff games are
it
in
was
Houston.
Steve 1 season.
Yeah, Steve for 1 season.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is very odd though. Most of my games are like most teams I played for are number 1 Charlotte, which is the newest franchise in the league, and then second Milwaukee, which is just generally been thought of as quite bad forever. And then Seattle, which is also sort of a laughing stock. So it's just weird. Bad careers. Not even a bad career, but bad careers.
I won championships with Seattle.
Yeah. Well, that was even
like season like I don't know 20 or something.
Yeah, that was like 26 seasons before I went to Seattle. So just goes, and that was
That was
15
probably
seasons ago. So it goes
when
to
did you
show.
even join the SBA?
Season
What year?
37.
I joined in season 9.
Yeah. So it's when you put things into perspective, it's like most of the I bet all of your teammates on that Seattle team back then, none of them are still active in the SPN.
It would be
Coffee.
Who is? Oh my god, what was Delgado's username?
Adwire.
Adwire, yeah, he's inactive.
Was Bren still on those teams?
No.
So no.
Moleholt was on one of the. Not Moleholt. He's gonna. That's funny. I meant to say. Who's the band guy who had all the images? Golab, yeah, Gorlab, yeah, not Moleholt. Gorlab, very different people. Very different people.
Yeah, so none of them
one
are.
is incredibly useful and has done everything for the SBA, and the other one is a raging lunatic.
It says here.
Yeah, I don't remember who else was on those teams. Oh, Dennis.
Yeah, but he's also like.
He's gone.
The other
they're
Dennis.
all gone.
Yeah, they're all gone.
The other Dennis, not Dens.
Yeah.
Other Dennis.
Yeah. So there you go. That's how far along we are from that Mercer Island Knights team compared to when I played there and compared to today. So yeah.
Yes, that's back when GM players, it was the best one, and Zach Cuff got playoff MVP. That was Cuffy's.
Yeah. Beat the Thunderbirds 4-2 in the finals in season 23. All right. I think we're just about done here. Thanks to you two for stopping by. It was a pleasure, and hopefully we can get more of you here in the coming months, weeks, if you decide not to go fully inactive.
I likely am going to go fully inactive, so this may be my departure. It was a pleasure.
Well, the door is still open whenever you want to hop back on.
I'll come in and just give raging uninformed.
Talk about season 23
like
and tweet. Yeah, just talk about how it was in the hand check days and
in season 13. I'll tell you all about it.
Yeah. And thanks to Nepto as well for hopping on, as always.
As always.
Yeah.
Right,
Anytime,
cheers,
bro.
guys.
Yeah. See ya.
Adios.
Thanks. Check again next week for 5 of the week.